pumped that we're here. We haven't done this in a long time.
Mm-hmm.
I've just been busy getting ma- getting married, brothers getting married, a bunch of stuff's been happening.
Buying homes.
Yeah, trying to hit our goals.
Yeah.
Obviously, we do this for fun. Pumped about our guest that we have, Noah. It's known you for a couple years now. I mean, really didn't know who you were until I started seeing you on the leaderboards and everything. Um, you guys, what's cool is you guys are in the same class.
Yeah, 2022.
Yep.
Yeah, rookies together, and then also partnered
Yeah.
in the same year. It's
That's
insane.
done.
How did you find out about EcoShield?
So I found out about EcoShield through one of my boys. He had gotten hired through the company, and I was in Riverside, California at the time. So that's where I grew up. I was door dashing, trying to get my real estate license, and because I knew like school wasn't really a thing I was interested in doing. Like I didn't want to be a doctor or a lawyer or whatever. And basically they reached out, and at first I didn't really think it was like a real deal, like a real opportunity.
Yeah, sounds normal.
You know, it's like,
What's
let's do pest control door to door, and I was like, oh, like that sounds like a 4X, like that sounds not real. But what was cool is I just started like meeting with some of the owners and like getting to know some of the guys and like seeing numbers, and I realized like, oh, this is a real opportunity. And so I went out for my first summer in Austin, Texas.
It's money. I love Austin.
Yeah.
How many summers did you spend in Austin?
2.
And then this last summer was Salt Lake.
Yep.
Okay. Partnered in to Salt Lake, and then obviously you still get your rev in Austin and everything. But next year, going to be in Austin or Salt Lake again.
Salt Lake.
That's the plan.
Running the back.
Okay. It's
Yeah,
money.
it's huge.
All the boys are going to be there. All your whole downline and everything.
Mm-hmm.
It's money. What's I guess we always ask a lot of the guests, like, you know, I said it sounds normal because almost everybody says, yeah, when I first heard about it, it didn't sound real almost. What's kept you around, and what's like, were you bought in immediately, or like what was kind of, was it like after your first year you came back, bought in your second year, like, oh, I'm going to build a team now, or how'd that go down for you?
Yeah, I think for me it was pretty immediate. Just seeing like what other guys were doing, like you were one of the guys I would see on the leaderboard just crushing it. Other dudes like Dylan Smith, like those guys in our system, just like crushing it, and kind of seeing the lifestyle and the things that they're able to do, and seeing guys like Rob Nelson, who was my partner at the time. He's still one of my business partners, but living on the beach in Newport,
Yeah.
Living that life, and so kind of realizing that wow, like this is not just hey, you can make 6 figures over summer. You can really build here, and there's like
career.
long-term growth.
For sure. How far is it? How far is Riverside from where you guys grew up?
Man, probably like an hour.
Probably like hour and a half, 2 hours maybe.
Yeah, depending on the traffic.
Yeah.
Man.
Small world.
LA traffic is
Yeah.
crazy. Yeah.
Would you guys high schools play against each other or anything? Like, how's the California work?
Probably in some preseason type of matchup.
Yeah, maybe like if do you guys have a good football team or no?
We were decent.
Yeah.
We played in the Golden League, so we were like 5A.
Okay. Yeah, so if we really got somewhere, maybe, but probably not.
Gotcha.
California's big. There's a lot of schools.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Got you. Is Riverside big? I just don't know.
Yeah, Riverside's big. I think it's probably like 300,000 people.
Gotcha.
I mean,
It's
I
like
got a
it's a
question
big small city.
Yeah, so not really meant to backtrack here, but you deciding to leave DoorDash and like that type of money to take the opportunity to do this, what was it that really attracted you? Because we usually tell guys there's one of 3 reasons why you would decide to take the opportunity to come out and work for us, and it's usually the lifestyle. Understanding that, the average guy that works with us works for 4 months out of the summer, 5 months out of the summer, and they accrue enough money over that time period to not have to have a job over the course of the next 7 to 8 months. Or the second reason being, type of money that they can earn during that time period, or the third reason being the career opportunities. What was it for you that really kind of locked on?
Yeah, I think for me, my main focus was kind of money based at first, right? Just seeing like, hey, you come out for the summer, the average guy makes 30 or 40K during the summer. And so for me, I wanted to get, at that time, trying to get in real estate, I wanted to just start buying properties. And so I needed, money to do that. And so I was like, well, hey, these are some guys who, in Jade and Rob, they had already some rental properties and stuff. And so I look up to that and I was like, wow, this is exactly what I want to do. They did this like maybe you know, I wasn't thinking career at all, but I was thinking maybe this could give me some money to go start doing real estate. And so my mentality at the time, which is like still my mentality for a lot of things, is if, you know, if those guys can do it, so can I. And so I, you know, heard 40K during the summer is average, is like, okay, like I know if I put in full effort, I can at least do average, and then earn free rent, live somewhere for free in a new city. That was like my mentality.
So being influenced by the money aspect of it all, would you say that how you grew up or the environment in which you grew up in led you to want to, I guess, be attracted to the type of money that you can earn doing this type of opportunity?
Yeah, I mean, I think that for me, you know, I didn't come from a whole lot. I mean, we weren't, you know, flat broke, but we didn't have like a whole lot growing up. And so, you know, the lifestyle I live now is definitely a lot different than, you know, how I was raised. I think for me, money wasn't the actual motivator. It was freedom. I wanted to be able to, you know, do what I wanted to do, make my own choices. I really didn't like being locked into like a job year round, like thinking about going and doing something all year, the same thing, and it just being like this grinding thing. You know, seeing my parents who, you know, for the most part, were teachers, you know, as far as their jobs, and just seeing like, you know, you're working so hard. Teachers are fortunate enough where they get like summers off, but most people aside from that, you know, looking at friends' parents, they're just working, and then, you know, you work until you're old, and then you finally have a retirement, and now you're not really going to do a whole lot because now you're old. And so for me, I just wanted a way for me to live a different lifestyle, try to become successful, and really have control over my time when I was young and still able to travel and still wanting to go do stuff and be active, um, you know, rather than being old and, you know, having the years already gone by.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, man, you are how old?
23.
23 years old. So for you to have that type of mindset, man, that's what some would say that's like an older way of thinking. Were you the most ambitious of your friend group prior to taking the opportunity with EcoShield?
That's a great question. I don't think I've ever thought about that. Um, I don't know. I mean, I know a lot of my friends, you know, just within different groups are more focused in school. Maybe they had better grades, they paid more attention. Um, yeah, I definitely I'm a lot more stubborn than a lot of them, that's for sure, right? But yeah, I don't know if I was more ambitious, but I think that for me, you know, and obviously I attribute it to God just putting me in the right place to have this opportunity, you know, fall into my lap or however you want to call it, um, to just give me a place where it's like, hey, you know, I'm ready to go. You know, I just don't know where, you know, what direction to take. I have this program already set up. You know, you're taught how to sell, and then the second you're taught how to learn leadership skills, you can build your book of business. Put me in, like I'm ready to go. So, I think for me it was just about finding the thing that I believed in, because I had no vision with education or school. I had no motivation to work hard. You know, hourly wage jobs where, you know, you're hanging out or you're working hard, you're getting the same amount of money. I'm like, dude, it's boring, it's draining.
Did
But
you do a lot of jobs like that growing up?
I had some. So I worked at a summer camp, and for part of the time I worked in the kitchen, doing food prep and stuff. And so, you know, that was one of those jobs where, you know, you're working, but that's not your career. You don't ever look at that and go,
Right.
hey, I want to do this forever. And that's not to bash anybody who like does those sort of jobs. You know, some people have a lot of value in that, but for me, and I know like a lot of people, it's just like, this isn't the end all be all.
Right.
So I just kind of needed a way to, you know, make it happen.
Yeah, I love that. I mean, I think that he was trying to be humble. I think he definitely was probably one of the more ambitious people. If you got the feeling that I'm working hard and people are still getting paid the same amount and they're chilling or whatever, you probably were more ambitious than at least the average person that you were around. So you probably need to give yourself a little bit more credit on that.
Maybe.
You know?
That's funny.
What you kind of mentioned it, like, you know, God placing opportunities in your life, and I think it's Warren Buffett that also says you have like two opportunities in life: one before you're 25, one after you're 25. And like I whenever I heard that quote, and I need to figure out if it was actually him that said that.
That's funny.
Whenever I heard that, it was like for me, EcoShield was my pre-25 moment, like as an opportunity. definitely feel fortunate to be, placed in the opportunity to do this job. What's your like advice to, maybe people that are like interested in it, or that like we sit here and we see it as such a high opportunity, and some people just don't. So what's your piece of advice to people that maybe should see it as an opportunity, or are kind of looking at it? What's your piece there?
Yeah, I think there's two things I really think about, when you ask that question. It's, what is there to gain? And then also, like, on one hand, people are thinking, hey, like, this is what I was thinking too before getting this job, like, hey, like, what can I go out there and gain? And then the other side of it is like kind of that fear, which is like, what do I have to lose here? Is this a real opportunity?
Right.
I remember, my mom especially was like, oh, like this isn't a real opportunity.
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
you're gonna get scammed, whatever. And so for me, I was very deliberate with my research and really vetting the company and saying like, hey, am I gonna go out here and make the most out of my time? And so it came down to a couple things, and that's just the evidence, like the numbers, the reputation of the business. And so for people, I guess at first I'll say hesitant to consider an opportunity like this. Um, look at the accounts, look at the stories, look at the testimonies,
Yeah.
and understand that it takes hard work, but it's the most fun job in the world.
Right.
And it's unlike anything I think any of us have ever done, job wise, unless you've been in a sales space. And then as far as what you can actually benefit from, I think that no matter what job you do, trying out at least one summer is probably the best thing you could possibly do.
Yeah.
And the reason that is, like, I mean, you guys understand it just from your experiences, but for someone who hasn't gone out and tried sales, maybe they have had no sales experience at all. That's where I was. No sales experience, no communication, experience like that. It makes you more confident, 100%. You talk to 80 to 100 people a day. You're having these interactions with all different types of people. And so, it gives me confidence no matter what. This is a career for me, but if I were to go into a different space, I would have tangible skills that I can say, hey, like, I'm confident, I can talk to these people. I know about communication, persuasion, and I think it's just, yeah, it's just so valuable.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, we obviously agree.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely, bro. And then just understanding that, like, what you're talking about, building a book of business. I mean, you're running a $3 million system, and your team name is the ARC. I think you're one of the most selfless people that I know. Like, talk to me a little bit about what the ARC, like how that kind of came to fruition, and what that like means.
Yeah. So the team name, yeah, yeah, and it's cool between the Sharks or Shark? Shark, between Shark and Foundation. It's like I genuinely believe you guys have some of the best cultures too, company wide, right? Not just in the system.
We try. We do try.
Yeah, and I love it. It's like I feel like talking with you guys, we have similar visions. Like, we believe similar things. For me, the way my team name came about, it kind of funny enough. Obviously, my name's Noah, so like Noah's Ark.
It's like one of those, like, I don't want to call it clever because that doesn't sound right, but it's cool. Your name, like,
It works out.
It's
Yeah.
so cool. Like,
It works out.
if you know the story, like, it's a badass name. I mean,
Yeah.
it's cool. So.
Yeah, man.
But yeah, give us more details. Sorry, I didn't cut you
No,
off.
you're good.
I've always wanted to ask you this question too. 'Cause it's like, whose name is Ark? Like, I'm trying to understand what it meant. It's like, oh no, it's Noah Griffiths, and I was like, oh, that makes so much sense.
Yeah.
That is awesome. So.
Well, the real story of how, I'll tell you guys, like, the real true story of how, our team got its name, and then how it became what it is now. And the truth is, just starting to build teams when I was first becoming a manager, I was like, oh, this is a perfect name. Like, it's simple, it's easy, like, whatever. I'll just name the team this, and then I'll change the name later. Like, when I come up with, like, a more, fancier name or whatever, right? You have, like, your alphas, your legions, your whatever. And so it's like, I'll make a cool, like, Greek or Roman sounding name or something. And so I was like looking, and I couldn't find a name that, like, stuck. Because if you ever have named a team, it's hard. Like, you guys did really well. you guys also got real, like, it's like a username on Instagram. Like, you only have, one of your thing. Otherwise, it's like, going to get messed up.
Right.
And so, looking, I was like, hey, do you guys have any ideas? Like, I was asking my team. And this is like before I think we'd even go out to the summer. And they're like, no, like, we like ARC, like, keep it.
Yeah.
I was like, are you guys sure? It's like, I don't want to name it Noah's Ark. I don't want to make it about me. I want it to be about like something that we all, kind of
That's a good sign, though.
agree with.
People are saying that. It's like,
Yeah. Well, they're like, yeah, let's keep it. And I was like, all right, like, I want you guys to be happy with the name. I didn't want to just name it after me. So all right, like, we'll keep it. And so, over time, we just all kind of got on board, and it kind of became this thing that actually you put in. I believe it was a presentation at MDP or Pro Bowl where, there's a lot of meaning behind ARC, Noah's story in the Bible. And so I always knew that there's, a lot of good connections and a lot of good meaning behind a name, right? Like the foundation, obviously, there's a lot of meaning there. And, for you guys too, there's a lot of meaning within what you guys do. And I love how there's multiple meanings actually within, like between burning the boats and like all the things you guys have connected to it. But it kind of became this thing which you put where, it's this vessel that's, big enough for all of us, for everyone to come aboard and kind of take a journey towards success and, grow and develop together as part of this unit. No matter what's going on outside in the world, around it can be crazy, but we're locked in. We've got a game plan, and this vessel that's and we talk about EcoShield being a vessel that obviously takes guys, to the next level and helps them progress. So it's cool. That's kind of, I think the meaning and the name kind of just came together. So it was never
if you know the Bible story, like that is such a cool team name.
It was meant to be.
Yeah,
seriously.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
And then within that, man, I mean, just building that vision. Like, you have family that's out here working with you. You have 2 brothers, right?
Mm-hmm.
You have a cousin that's out here.
That's right.
Which one of them was in real estate?
The cousin.
Is that why you were thinking about getting into it, or?
It's funny. Before this job, I had maybe met him a couple times when we were kids, but I didn't know him.
Wow.
So we did not like hang out, whatever. And I think too, that's another thing that I really appreciate about this job. On one hand, you have like my brothers who, we're different, but they're pretty similar to me in that there was never a career path for them where like, hey, like, let me go be a doctor, let me be a lawyer. And so I'm the oldest, 2 younger brothers. The middle one, Sam, he had just done a year in college, community college, kind of like I did before my first summer. He wasn't really vibing with it, similar to me. And so after my first summer, I started managing a team, recruiting guys, and he decided he wanted to come out. And which is funny because growing up, as brothers do, and you and your brothers are really, really close. You guys are a great example of how, brothers can act, and it's like awesome, right? Like you have like, the Tate brothers, guys who are just like have each other's backs. And so for us growing up, we were always very competitive and we weren't always the closest. And so one thing I really value about this opportunity for me is not only being able to bring them into the business and, have them succeed and, learn a skill set, earn their own living, do their own thing. But also it's made us a lot closer. So, literally improved our relationships. Just because instead of just competing over, unimportant things, now we're on the same team, the same vision, going the same direction. So it's made our family closer that way. And then with my cousin, like I said, it had been 10 years since I'd seen him. And after my first summer out, I just called him a couple times because, for me, growing up, like maybe every couple of years we could do a family vacation or something, right? And so after my first summer, when I had some money and I could go travel, I was like, dude, this is perfect. Like I went to go see my grandma who lives in Maryland. I went to go see my other grandma who lives down in Florida and just go see my family who I hadn't seen in a long time because I had that ability now to do that. And so I was trying to connect with him and basically just through a series of coincidences, we just had a couple phone calls back and forth. He was doing real estate. Mind you, I was 20 at the time and I think he was 30. So he's 10 years older than me, much older in real estate. So I'm not thinking much of it. But we kept in touch. He came out to visit. He decided to do the whole thing, and he ended up staying with me for like a month or two before his first summer, and we just trained every single day. And so, the reason I know it's a long story, but it's just an example of, the freedom I mentioned, having the ability to go reach out and connect with him allowed us to be super close. Now he lives, I live on the beach in Newport. He lives 8 streets down, right there on the beach
Right.
too. And he swore he would never leave Portland. He loved it up there. I was telling him, dude, you gotta come out to Newport. You gotta come out to Orange County. It's beautiful. And now he's like, I can't leave. I'm gonna be here for the next however long. So it's cool just having, that's a byproduct. I think that was never a goal, but having that be a byproduct of this whole thing is like, I think it's an opportunity for me to be very grateful. And I don't know if you feel similar. Is that similar how your brothers, do you feel like this job has made you guys closer?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I think just in general, like it's made me even closer with people that aren't necessarily blood related, but because we're doing the same thing, going through the same hardships, obstacles, objections, and things of that sort, like it's made us closer. Because we do the same job, specifically speaking with my brothers, like I now live with one of my younger brothers and I am in constant communication with my other brother. I think because we do this job, I am in frequent communication. So it has naturally just brought us closer because of that. And man, I kind of feel like we gotta address the elephant in the room. I think you are hitting on a lot of selfless things that you can hit on that this job has been able to give you. But you are a guy, we started rookie year together, and you have absolutely dominated since the time that you start. I guess just breaking that down, man, I guess we can talk about the money. That's kind of what has attracted you to it, even though that you've gained other things from this opportunity. What have you, I guess, done summer after summer since being here?
Yeah. So, rookie year, came out to Austin, Texas, and I sold 300K. So I made
Fire first year. Oh my god.
it
That was
worked
top
out.
10, right?
Yep. So top 10 rookie, that year. Made about 120, 130.
Yeah.
And so that immediately opened my eyes to the possibilities, of this job. Just
You said you made 130,
Mhm.
and you were how old rookie year?
I was 20 years. I think I was 21 at that time. So I turned 21 during that summer. But I was 20 years old
Wow.
with nothing really going out to the summer. And
Was
so
that a goal of yours to go up there and earn that much money?
yeah. So my goal was on pay scale 250K. So 6 figures. I was like, if I can go out there and earn 6 figures, like that'd be a dream. Because I feel like 6 figures. Neither of my parents had ever earned 6 figures or probably even really that close to it. Growing up. And so I don't know. I just feel like that was I don't know what struck me at that number. I feel like that's a very feel like you made it number. Especially coming from
It's like a level,
not a whole
it's
lot.
like level one.
Yeah.
It's like entrepreneur level one is to get to 100K.
Totally.
You know?
Totally.
It's like you did it
Yeah.
quick too. That's so crazy. 4 months or 3 months or how long? did
4
you-
months.
Yeah. Dude,
Yep.
that's-
So May
did
through
it
August.
quick. That's insane. So then second year.
So second year, I did 375, so like 160 or so. And then this past summer, I sold 500K.
In a new market.
Yep. So went out to Austin in 2 summers,
Yeah.
and went to Salt Lake, and that was this year that I partnered. So we did 2.8 million as a team, and did 500 personal. So
Wow.
it's a good summer.
Wow. Now there's some guys out there that would, say there's difficulties in going from one market to a different market. And I would, say that going from Austin, Texas to Utah is like very different. How would you say that you approach that change going from one market to another to have your best summer ever? Team did more than they ever did.
Yeah, good question. I think at first I, had doubts. I think a lot of people who have gone and sold in different locations kind of, that fear, that uncertainty that you have, and you're like, I don't know how this is going to work out. And so for me, I just said, you know what? People have been selling here for years. There's good dudes that have sold here. In the recent years, there hadn't really been anyone who produced a lot. Maybe over that 300K mark, right about there. And so, for me, that was a little bit of a doubt at the time. Like, okay, like wow, like maybe there's limitations, which obviously we know that that's not real. And so I said, you know what? It's just like anywhere else. Like if people can sell here, wherever, it's just about figuring it out. And so
Yeah.
just went out and figured it out.
And then you did what this past summer?
500K.
And made how much?
Over 200K.
Excluding team stuff.
Excluding team stuff.
So just off of sales, yeah, $200,000,
Wow.
which like doesn't even seem like real, but it is.
Yeah,
It's insane.
Yeah.
well deserved.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
And I mean, arguably speaking, some would say Utah could be one of the harder places to knock. It's kind of known as the mecca of door-to-door sales. That's kind of where everything kind of starts from. I mean, a lot of the door-to-door companies are based in headquarters out of Utah. I think that's huge for you to go out there and do that, man.
Appreciate you.
That's awesome. Leading the team that you're leading. I mean, one of your brothers just accomplished being the most improved rep. What was the biggest change? I mean, you're the leader of that arc, right? What was the biggest change that you've seen from your brother go from one summer to the next summer to be able to achieve that?
I think it had to do with the prep. I mean, obviously, immediately on paper, he had come out his first summer after high school, and so he'd come out like maybe mid-June through the end of school. And he's naturally more of a shy, timid dude, and so I think seeing him kind of come out of his shell during his first summer, was a part of that. But the biggest thing was just his training before the summer. He grinded his ass off and really worked hard. He got a full 5 on the doors that, this past summer. And so because of that, he sold a little over 65K his first summer, and he just sold over 300K this past summer. So
Wow.
I was really proud of him. And
It's a cool feeling.
yeah, man, it's really cool. And I don't know if I've told this story, but I actually was, as a brother, I don't know if you've ever felt this way, or really even just as a leader, you have guys underneath you, and you care about all of them. You want to see them all succeed, and adding, if they're maybe your friend or your family member too, that's an extra little, like you don't want to see them fail.
Right.
And so during the beginning of this summer, actually summer 24, so summer 23, 65K, not a lot of training, not a lot of time on the doors, cool. And I truly believe this job, anyone can succeed. And so for me, I'm like pumped. I want to see him do better. And at the start of this summer, things started out really slow. And, he was actually on probation, a couple times at the beginning there. And so for me, I kind of had this sinking feeling like, dang, maybe, this isn't something he can do. And that's just negativity. I didn't vocalize that, but those are the doubts that are going through my mind, real doubts. And the only reason I share that is because as time went on, that dude has a motor. And he's a good listener. He's paying attention. He's working. And then it was like a snowball. And he was just started picking up, and he was rolling. And I was like, honestly amazed, right? To go from someone who I was worried that they would even finish their second summer to then someone who now is, most improved, earned 6 figures, and he's, 19, now 20.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, that's the baby bro. And it's like, wow. If this dude at 18, 19 out of high school can come out, one summer, then the next summer and make 6 figures, it's like anybody can do it.
Yeah.
This quiet dude who didn't talk to anybody, literally anybody can do it. And I'm so proud of that dude.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So many brothers within EcoShield.
Yeah.
So many sets of brothers and families. It's
I mean, you got a couple, like you got a cousin, you got a brother.
cousin and brother, yeah. I mean, that's
Yeah.
what I'm saying. It's all around. Like you got the Argyle brothers.
Yeah.
You got the Griffiths brothers. I mean, it's like
The Lees.
The
Yeah.
Lees. It's all around. Some McNeelys, obviously.
The Smith boys.
The Pinnell.
The Smiths,
Yep.
Pinnells, and the Slash Williams. I guess is how that works.
Right.
But yeah, there's like you said, dude. I totally relate to that little bit of like when they talk about pressures of privilege. That's when I like first, I guess, it resonated with me. It was like driving a brother or a cousin out to Hood, because I've had both at work, and I have both that are coming out to work with us this summer. Like it's you have to produce, Because if you don't, then and they're not, it's like, oh, well, they're going to look to you to make sure that you are. You know, I just it's that's when I first did that really first like hit for me. It's like, okay, I understand what that means now. So I think it's a good thing. I also think that like the whole mixing family and business thing is something that for some reason is misconstrued, I guess, on the internet. Like,
Kind of has a negative connotation.
yeah, for some reason.
Yeah.
And I actually like growing up, no family that like don't do good business together, which I guess it happens, but it's like I see so many examples of it working out in this room,
Yeah.
including with me, plus everybody else that in the company. So
I just think maybe the foundation of family and business not working out could just stem from accountability, maybe. Like sometimes people struggle with being held accountable. Maybe one person buys into the vision more than the other party. And then when it comes time to holding that other party to that standard, it's the rift between them maybe not buying into that vision or whatever the case may be.
Yeah, I was having the conversation the other day.
Multifaceted.
yeah,
Yeah, I think what we were talking about the same thing. Like someone asked me, like, "Oh, you work with your brothers. Like, shouldn't you not mix family and business?" And so I was trying to think. I was like, you know what? Like, I wonder why they say that. And I think what you're saying is a huge thing. Like people being on the same page.
Why they said it.
Yeah.
And I guess we're young in business, but it's like I see too many examples of it working out to believe that.
I think it's like, if you are in business solely because they're your family, I think that's what it is. Like, don't just be in business because they're your family. Don't bring them just because they're your family. But like you're saying, have that shared vision. It's like makes a difference.
Yeah, definitely.
So let's you got a big system, obviously partnered in this year. Is it $3 million that you partnered in with and everything? So what's how's that break down? Like what are PRAs? What are some specifics on the team and everything? How did everything go?
So this summer we serviced a little over 2.8 million.
Okay.
And so we finished with 10, so about 270, 280 per rep, which means that which is super I'm super proud of, or I'm super grateful for, because
So your per rep is 275.
Yeah.
Or 270.
Yep.
So your average guy made $100,000.
Yeah.
Basically.
Yep, exactly.
That's
The
crazy.
average guy made
Wow.
6 figures. So
Well, more technically, right? I mean, if we're that's nuts.
That's huge. And if you had to shoot out there just real quick, the average age of the rep that's on your team.
the average age, that's a good question. I actually don't know. I think most everyone is between 19 to 23, 24.
Making $100,000, average person.
Yeah. With the one exception being Aaron, who's 30, 32. But yeah, man. And I had several first year guys making 6 figures. But I think that it's definitely something that gives me confidence when it comes to hiring new guys and bringing people on, that not because of me or my production, but just because of what guys within the team culture are able to do. That hey, when you come out and you do what we do and you're a part of our training and our systems, you can be confident that you're going to be successful because you're surrounded by guys who have done those 6-figure marks, or really just ultimately breaks down to culture, right? Wanting to see each other succeed and stuff like that. So, which is cool, man, because you guys have a very similar culture.
Mm-hmm.
That family. That's what I sense when I think about your guys' teams. I feel like there's a lot of people who maybe just go out there. Do you guys get that sense where it's like, obviously you don't know what it's like to be a part of someone else's team, but at least that's what I sense when I see your guys' system. It's like I see your guys' videos of you guys making breakdowns, dancing and stuff like that, and it's like that energy, that vibe, and it's like it is family, but it's also like people who you're not related to. That's still family, and so it's.
Yeah.
Do you feel that within your team?
Yeah, absolutely. I just think it comes back to the point of, because we're doing the same thing, same schedule, living in the same quarters, doing the same job, it just makes it easier for us to bond over just that simple thing, that we're doing the same thing. And within that, we are in the same living quarters for 4 months. It is almost like a camp that we go to back in sports, when we would go do 2-a-days over the summer. So it just allows us to just really kind of be close together for that short period of time, understanding that we all have the same equal opportunity to go out there and achieve our wildest dreams, if you will. And I just think just us being in the position that we are as leaders, now owners of the business, you know, we have that same position of power to be able to give that back to whoever that we come in contact with. And I think that whoever we bring into that fold, it just allows us to kind of merge them into our family, into our core, into our unit, and just kind of build that culture with one another.
Well, dude, there's just, we've had moments just like every other team has, I'm sure, you know, and I think the kind of like you said, just giving it back to everybody around. I think that's the biggest part of it. We sit there in partner meetings all day today and talk about being good leaders and stuff like that. How it all starts with us, but it's like at the end of the day, it's like I feel super fortunate because this is my first year that I've had partners that have partnered in with me, you know, and so it's like the way that they interact with each other, plus the way that I feel like I get to interact with them, like the people below, like, you know, our managers that are trying to partner in, or just our first year managers that are trying to get some sort of foundation built this year or whatever, like they're not, I just feel like if we're getting along so well and we don't have beef with each other, they're going to naturally think that they shouldn't, you know what I mean? And so I think it all just, like you said, like we got, it's so crazy how life throws certain things at you, and at the time it feels so unfortunate, but then you fast forward and it's like it was the best thing ever. And I think that Maryland, like in 2020 when we had to go from Twin to Maryland, I wasn't that excited about it, you know, like it didn't seem like the best thing in the world, but you know, at the time, like because of COVID, you could only knock like, it was like 6 or 7 or 8 counties in Twin. We had a huge team out there selling so many accounts that we were scheduling way far out, and it felt like the worst thing in the world that we had to end up in Maryland. But like, dude, like talk about God putting opportunities just right in front of you. Like, I look up and all of a sudden, like you said, I really do feel like we have in North DC and expanding, obviously, elephant in the room, like I feel like we have built a good culture. The big test, and obviously every year there's new tests. The big test is going to be this year because we are expanding. It's going to be interesting to see. So I kind of personally want to ask you, I want to talk more about your team, but I personally want to ask you some questions about that, like how you handled that with your team going from one place to another. Like, you know, I guess like with Salt Lake being the door-to-door mecca, like whatever the case is, like outside looking in, like people that have these negative connotations about what it's supposed to be or not, like how did you handle that? What were some things that you know did to make sure that you kept everybody together and you know, were positive about it, and you know, we're able to still hit goals and stuff like that, and pull out PRAs where the average guy's selling 275? It's insane.
Yeah, I think for us, like we know where we are in our experience that reading is huge, and so for me, even going back to my first year managing, there was a few books that I, you know, either made sure everyone read or like would play on the car ride out to Hood. And so one of those books is Getting to Neutral. And so by Trevor Moawad. Yeah. And so have you guys both read that book? Okay. So that book is insane. Right. And so, you know, for everyone who doesn't, you know the concept of the book, basically, you know, things that aren't in your control, you're just wasting energy worrying about. You know, focus on the next right step. And, you know, if you can't, you know, make a choice in a certain situation or something's going on that's an outside influence, don't worry about it. Just make the right decision. And so for us, because we had expanded and we were over our market size for Austin, we needed to go somewhere. We weren't quite big enough to open up yet. And so kind of like you were mentioning, that opportunity for you guys to go to Maryland, which I'd be curious to hear a little bit more about that too. For us, it just so worked out that we were able to just kind of hop into the market with Salt Lake. That was an existing market. And so really just came down to that book and really not just, you know, having that knowledge, but applying it, right?
Yeah.
Like, hey, this is our mentality. We can't choose where we go, but we're definitely not going to complain. And we're going to make, you know, we're going to succeed no matter what is put in front of us.
Yeah, it's like you said, you can't. There's no reason to complain, and if you've read the Get to Neutral book, it's like you're just wasting energy if you're going to do that anyway. So makes sense, and obviously showed in the numbers that you guys did. How's this next year looking as far as signed, and what's the goal? How many are you wanting to finish, and stuff like that?
Yeah, good question. So, 10 million is the goal,
Okay.
and
Huge growth.
yeah,
Awesome.
huge goal. And so right now we're at like 50 or 60 signed. So there's a ways we have to go to hit that, but or I'd say I think that having larger goals is always better than selling yourself short, and just having that number to push to, and yeah, we'll see what we do.
It's money.
What are some of your main motivators in doing what you do?
Yeah, I think
Because I believe that there's an elephant that we maybe, not necessarily an elephant, but I'm just curious as to like what are some of like things that kind of push you to do what you do and continue to build what you're building.
yeah, I think for me the current motivator is, I don't know, kind of the reward of seeing the growth in members of my team.
Mhm.
So, seeing a guy, I mean, you could take a guy like Ben, the younger brother, who's, out of high school, maybe he's not the most social dude, and now he's able to talk and, make all these friends and talk to girls and make all this money, whatever. So just seeing that, and then the character side of that, I think that's even more important. Just seeing guys um, develop on the character side. That's one thing that we really, really strongly believe in our team, is that good business starts with good character. And so how you treat people, how you relate to people, how honest you are, how humble you are, how willing you are, like you said, to take accountability, all those things are part of character. And if you can dial in those things, the money will make itself. And so, it's cool to see guys develop that way. And so I'd say that's the motivator for me. I mean, it started, kind of with money. Money was like the main motivator, but just like anyone who makes money, you find out, okay, like money, this is cool. Like, buying this car, this truck, like living at this place, whatever is cool, the trips or whatever. But that's not sustainable, right? That's not, we know there's no amount of money that'll make you happy, right? And so I think that, being able to have this opportunity to change my life, where I was to, my lifestyle now, and be able to give that to someone and see that change in their life is actually the coolest thing in the world.
Yeah, I agree with you there. There's something. It just feels like but it's a feeling that you don't get to unless you've had the success that you've had, and you make the type of money that you've made, where it's like, okay, I have a cool truck, I'm living in a cool place, but this wouldn't mean anything without all these people that I'm getting to do it with, So that's super cool, and it's super relatable too. I mean, for me, it's like I feel the same way. It's like it'd be cool to have these things, but if nobody else has them, it's like it's not that cool, That's at least how I feel about it. But
It's true. It's like, right. It's like having playing a game, or like a video game or whatever it is, and you're playing alone or whatever. It's like maybe you're gonna have fun for a little while, but or whatever you're doing, being able to have your boys like come with you is it's everything. Is that similar for you? What would you say is your main motivator right now?
supercar.
No. I
He's got the house, the ladies, got everything. Man. It's
Supercar's
insane.
next.
The
That's
wife.
that's
The wife.
Yeah.
Supercar's next, right?
I mean, man, that's one of the goals.
Is that not public?
I think the main motivator for me
It's
is
not
just kind of, just putting myself in a position to just be a better example. Because I mean, kind of similar to like what you're saying. Like we didn't come from anything crazy. We didn't have the best examples of what to live up to and what to look forward to. A lot of the goals and examples that we would, look towards and follow were things that we've seen on social media and rap videos or whatever the case it was. So when I, was fortunate enough to come across an opportunity like this, it was in my early years of college. So I think when I took this opportunity, and fast forward 9 summers to be in the position that I'm in now, now owning a portion of the company, I just think, my main motivation is just being able to put myself in a position that I hope that, you know, the people that I grew up with and the people that I came up with, you know, it's like a light at the end of the tunnel. You know, the opportunity that we get a chance to, you know, be healthy enough to walk around and potentially be able to make money with just the words out of our mouth, doing it the right way, integrity, all those kinds of things. It just puts everyone to be able to be in a position to where they can be successful. Anyone can do the job if they have the right work ethic, positive about it, good attitude, all of those things. So I think my main motivator for myself is just, I guess, being in a position to give the opportunity to others. So that's what motivates me, is to continue to, I guess, just give unto others.
I love that. I think that's yeah, that's a huge piece. I think that for me, when I think about, hey, like how can I have an impact with this job? But there's tons of different ways, and I think one of those things is like you're saying, my community, and I think a lot about my parents and stuff. Just the decisions they made in life, led them down the paths that they led, and so there's certain opportunities that they just won't have just because of the financial options that they're available to them. So to be able to be be someone who can go and not only achieve certain things and have fun and do things on my own, but also say, hey, like, I want to turn around and impact their lives, and help them have whatever, a place to live, a car, whatever.
Like what some people say is the goals of their, as parents, is to put their children in better positions than they had for themselves, right? So for your parents to be in a position that they were, to be able to produce the offspring that they did, for you to do what you did,
yeah,
for now you to teach your brother to do what he did, that's a win as a parent, to feel like they put their children in better positions that they potentially grew up in.
it's so true. I think of sometimes, like, man, like I can't, being here now, it's like, man, I can't imagine like being, a teacher salary, making 60, 70K a year, whatever it is. And, me thinking of their decisions and being like, wow, like, they got to this level financially, in terms of that type of success. But really, because they produced me, my brothers, and now we're able to go and use all the things that they, taught us and how they raised us to become successful, really they won in the end. It just looked a little bit different than, our paths now. So I think that is cool. I think that is something to think about, which is the same thing for your guys' parents. I don't know, too much about, your guys' families, but they definitely impact on how you guys were raised, your values. You guys are both dudes that, have really high character. And that's not just like me, that's like, hey, if you hear, Dylan being brought up or Dave, it's like, wow, people speak highly of you guys. And that's like a known thing. So I think that it's cool that, your family's resume, through you guys living is, not just your resume, but it's your family's resume, right? You guys, were a byproduct of some of that, right? Obviously, credit to the work you guys put in. Yeah. Have you guys, a question I had for both of you guys, is there like a memory or an instance where you guys kind of gave back or helped out mom or dad, or took care of the family in some ways, or any big memories or anything you guys can think of that or ways you want to impact them in the future? Do you guys have any plans for something like that?
I have plans, but as far as stuff I've done, I mean, just good gifts is what I've tried to do. It's just over time and stuff like that. My as far as my family, it's kind of crazy how it worked out. My parents separated, and I mean, just as far as financially, it's like they're in different positions than they were whenever I was in high school, because of because of how things worked out for them, and so it'd be like I guess I'll say this on here. For a while, it's like you have a goal of retiring your mom. It's like kind of the classic thing to do. My mom just got remarried to a guy that is didn't go to college when you were supposed to go to college type of thing. Like there was no internet, you couldn't find stuff online and learn through YouTube and find good content or whatever the case was. And it would almost be, not that it would be offensive, but it would be one of those things like he's already doing that for her type of thing. My dad, it's not that he'd be too prideful about it, but he's in a good spot with what he's doing now compared to how things were. So that for me, for a minute was a goal, and then kind of isn't a goal anymore as far as that stuff goes. For me, I like goals in the way that I want to give back in the future. I want to eventually have the house where it's like, yeah, we're going there for holidays. Like everybody's going, like it just makes sense. Like not that it's like the biggest, coolest house, but it's just, it makes sense for everybody to go there. And I think that one of the coolest things, I don't know, I have a lot of goals when it comes to family stuff for me. Like you said, freedom earlier, like you eventually make enough money where it's like you don't have money goals, it's freedom goals, it's family goals for the future. Like, dude, like if your kids and everybody in your family want to spend time with you, I think that's the coolest thing ever. Because it's like, I don't know if it's because of movies or TV shows or whatever the case is, or just I've seen bad examples, like people complain about going to in-laws or going to family stuff or whatever, and it's like I don't want that for like my kids. I want them to be excited to come to things in the future. Like that's like a huge goal of mine, is for them to want to hang out with their family and hang out with me or whatever the case is. So I mean, as far as giving back already, just besides money and gifts, not too much. Just not a good like sentimental example really. I don't know if you have a good one to give.
I don't think I have anything specific as far as materialism goes. There's one specific thing, but I think that just how we were raised, money has, and this is probably cliche, as maybe for most, but money has kind of always had like a cloud over us. Like it has held so much power. So I just think for myself, I just really want to put our family in a position, friends in a position to where, we don't have that worry. Where anything that anyone is wanting can be had, right? So whether that's, mother has always been stressing about rent, be able to put my mom in a home where she'd ever have to worry about the idea of paying a rent or paying a mortgage because it's taken care of. Or, my dad never has had a vehicle to his name, never has had a stable means of transportation, buying him a vehicle outright. I guess really just removing the worry that money tends to bring towards, I guess, a lot of situations and scenarios. So I guess that the overall goal is just putting our people in a position to where they just don't have that worry. And it sucks to say, but a lot of that comes from, I guess, having the financial means to be able to do that.
It's something that it's so, the world's twisted it, bro. Like, we were born on an economic planet, and it's not your fault, it's not your fault, my fault, or any of you guys' fault. It's how it was when we got here. And for whatever reason, things cost money, and like, you grow up thinking that it's a negative thing, and even in the Bible, it talks about like trying to fit a camel through the, whatever they call the
eye of the needle.
Yeah, the eye of the needle. I was trying to make it more complicated than it was, but like, I think the being rich thing is just being overly materialistic with your wealth. The freedom thing and the access thing and the options thing, that's the reason to have money. It's not to be the one that's got the coolest car. It's like, it's not for that. I think that's what the Bible talks about. At least for my interpretation, I think that's what it means when it talks for that. It's talking about the difficulty of a rich man to get to heaven. It's the same as a camel getting in through the eye of the needle. I know that's misquoted for sure, but it's just the freedom, the access. It's I don't know, like I heard this, and I guess I'll get both you guys' takes on it, because I was having just hanging out with one of our Will Holt. I almost bring him up. I bring him up in a lot of the podcasts, but he sold with us for 3 years. was one of those guys, just a pillar rep. Like he's, you know, he doesn't have a huge team or anything. He's got a couple guys, but just the best example for everybody that he's around. You know, he sells real estate now. He made a ton of money with us, but he said he was having a dinner with one of our other buddies that we went to high school with, and that guy, I obviously won't say his name, but just he was like, well, I would never do commission. I like having a salary, and for me that like makes me want to puke, like, you know.
Yeah.
And so I don't know what's the, you know, because obviously there's a medium of, yeah, this is my salary, I can live under these means or whatever, but what's the, and I guess it might be repetitive, but what's you guys take on that, just, you know, versus having a salary versus, you know, living or working in a job where there is no cap on what you can make, and it really is all up to you, and you do have to show up on a daily basis, on a yearly basis, on a monthly basis to make sure that those checks keep coming in, otherwise they won't. And you know, for some people that's scary, but at the same time, they're going to a job 12 months of the year. They have to show up on a daily and a monthly basis. Why do people get that twisted? Is it like, do you guys think it's something that people are born with? Like, what do you guys think on that? I know that was a super long explanation and question, but just what are thoughts on that?
You can go ahead.
Gotcha. I think kind of purpose and passion, it could be driven within that. Like not necessarily all the time, like you can fulfill your purpose and your passion within a non-salary, non-hourly job. Like speaking specifically, like my wife, like she works for a nonprofit company, right? Where she, you know, really focuses on merging the relationships between companies and their emission data and trying to overall get them to lower their emission data, you know, trying to get closer to carbon neutral. So you wouldn't necessarily be able to find that in a non-salary position type of job, especially working for a nonprofit company. So, but not everybody is necessarily working for a business that is aligned with their purpose and their vision, if you will. So for the people that's not, I think it's more so has something to do with the comfortability aspect of it all. Knowing that I can show up for this amount of time per week, per month, and my paychecks are going to look like this.
And I'll say one thing to clarify too, I guess, like, you could be making
$200,000 a year salary, whatever.
Well, yeah, you could, but you could all. I was gonna say something way lower, but you could be making $50,000 salary, but if you're genuinely happy and fulfilling a purpose, because whatever job you're doing is getting this done, you know, that's good for you. And I'm not trying to say that that's a bad thing.
Right.
I feel like why do, I guess it's a weird question, but it's just people just kind of stick in the middle there, and they, you know, are in the middle of the crowd versus. Obviously, if you're earning like a $200,000+ salary, like you're doing something probably in a specialized field.
Right.
You're really good at what
but there's
you
a lot
do.
of people doing $40,000 a year salary, $50,000 a year salary. Yeah.
And I guess it's just frustrating for me. And the reason I asked that question is like, I'm getting the age, you're getting the age. I'm older than you. I feel old at these things. You've been around 9 years. You should feel old too.
Right.
But like, I'm starting to get around people that have been in the workforce doing their 9 to 5 or 8 to 3 or whatever it is every day, and all they do when they're outside of their job is complain about their job.
Right.
And it's like I've yet to hear it really, like, and people probably just wouldn't come up to me to say it, but most people don't complain about their job at EcoShield.
Right.
It's
and
true.
There is no cap, and there probably is more risk, and it's like, you know, the wanting a salary thing is just, it's a, you know, it confuses me. I guess makes sense for some people, and
I think it kind of comes from the bigger idea of everybody has the opportunity to, but not everyone's meant to be successful.
Yeah.
So people that are even in these salary positions, you know, they have the goals, dreams, and desires of having things that they can't necessarily achieve within their current position, but they want to be able to have it. Right, so it's the idea that if I'm in this current position and I'm making this much money, maybe I can work for 20, 30, 40 years to be able to have this one day where they may be those people that are less risk averse. So they don't want to take the risk right now when they're younger. It's kind of like investing, right? If you're going to invest be more aggressive now when you're younger as opposed to when you're in your later years in life. Those are the people that are on the opposite end, aren't willing to take those risks while they're younger in life to be able to have the potential to set themselves up for something far greater in the future.
Yeah, and I think it's funny too when you have those people. So it's like you have the people who are content with their, $50,000, $60,000 a year jobs or whatever, but then you have those people who say they want those, things that you can't get within that financial scope, and then they make excuses or whatever, and that's what's frustrating.
Yeah.
And then I think the third level that's even like funnier, like those are complaining. I think the third level is like, and you guys have probably met them where they start to tell you or they start to convince themselves that they actually don't want those things anymore, and they are happy, even though you know what I mean? I don't know if have you ever met those people where it's like they want, it's like people, they like,
Right.
I've heard people tell me like, oh
It's like
yeah,
they would
I'm
never
content.
dream to do that or to get that or to be
They
able to
want
achieve that.
more. Like maybe it's in the past or maybe just in different contexts. Like they want certain things, but they're just gonna say
Convince
like, oh
themselves.
yeah, convince themselves. Like you
Yeah.
guys ever experienced that where the
Yeah,
people just go, yeah, like you know what, like I'm okay, just never. I hear like I'm okay, just never being rich, or like I'm okay, like not,
knowing that they deep down want that.
right,
So what's the root of that?
right. And so I think it's almost like a compensation thing where it's like, if I'm next to you and you're super successful and I'm choosing the path of maybe least resistance, like maybe an easier path that's, like we're talking about the career paths here, and you're doing this, it's going to make me feel better about myself to say, I'm not going to tell you, hey, I'd be scared to take the risk you're taking and going and doing a commission only job. Instead, it's a lot easier for me to say and pretend, yeah, I'm actually content doing this,
Yeah.
and this is what I want to do. And it's like when you hang around, it's tough for me to hang around some of my boys who, like, long time friends, and like I know we're interested in the same stuff, we want the same things in terms of, getting more out of life, right? Being able to experience those things, and it's like, oh well, don't worry, bro. Like I have you. Like you're gonna be my rich friend, and we'll go on your yacht or whatever. And it's all that. It's like, dang, dude, like, come on.
Yeah.
Like
Like,
that's
I want you to
that's a
want more
cop
for
out.
yourself.
Yeah, that's just
Yeah.
like I want to make it seem like this is something I don't know if you guys have ever experienced that where.
Yeah.
That's kind of what I meant. I was
Yeah.
sitting here trying to get you guys to give me an answer of why people are like that, but there's really no answer.
Yeah.
It's that path of least resistance. It's
Yeah.
just like, hey, it's a little bit harder to do what we want to do now. Like it's harder to go knock a summer and sell pest control
Yeah.
this summer than it is to work a 9 to 5 for 4 months,
Right.
right? But if you have that delayed gratification, if you have that mindset where it's like, hey, maybe 4 months of what you do at your internship or your job, which is a fine job, but whatever you're doing for 4 months, maybe it's not that hard. Maybe it's a 6 or 7 out of 10. Maybe it has 8 to 10 days difficulty. And coming knocking doors of summer can be anywhere from like a 9 or a 10 difficulty, in terms of how much effort you're putting in. So over 4 months, maybe this job is a little bit harder. But if you think about your life, where you're going to be in 5 years doing the same exact thing versus someone who comes in and takes the business seriously and grows their book of business and goes from, obviously you have an incredible story, working as a technician and a service branch manager, a Star Tech manager, and now owning part of the business. And obviously you too, before you started in sales, and now you're an owner, very successful, opening up other locations, stuff like that, which we'll get to later. But it's like, over time, it's not, you're actually risking more doing what you're doing.
Yeah.
Because if you're doing what you're doing, you don't have really a chance to change. And so, yes, it's harder now. It's harder this summer. It might be harder for a couple summers versus what other people are doing. But when you look back in 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, well, now you're on the same path with the same, opportunities, the same amount of freedom.
Yeah, dude. And
It's insane.
Companies are just like EcoShield, where they want to keep good people around. And my dad, I was just kind of spilling to my dad the other day on the phone, just talking with him, like kind of updating him on everything, like telling him about just how the summer's gonna be, where I'm gonna be, and stuff like that. And he was just like, and I was explaining like I've a lot of the guys I have coming out this year have either sold with us before and then gone to do a 9 to 5 or been doing a 9 to 5 and are just kind of done with it.
Yeah.
And my dad was like, yeah, it's like, and I told him I'm trying to get a couple other guys that are my age that have been working 9 to 5. He's like, yeah, you need to get them now, like, because companies like to keep people around, you know, and eventually, like, you get deep enough into a company and then you don't get that promotion that you thought you were going to get, but then they make it so hard for you to leave because you got this 401k building up or pension building up or
Yeah.
time off building up, you know, PTO building up and all these other things. And like you said, like, you're actually risking so much by like letting some of that stuff build up, because if you think it's gonna be hard to leave now, and then like 2 or 3 years down the road when you're supposed to get that promotion and they bring somebody from the outside in and don't promote you or whatever the case is, like, it's gonna be that much harder to leave 3 years from now. Because just like us, we want to keep good people around. Any other company in the world is trying to do the same thing. They want to keep good people around. It's super important in business, you know.
Yeah.
So
It's insane. Yeah, like if you're that, and that's what I would tell anyone who, you know, is like even thinking remotely about trying a sales position, you know, or doing what we do, is like, try it now. Give it a shot.
yeah,
Try it out. Worst that happens is you make a bunch of friends in a new state that you never lived before, and you learn a new skill set. That's the worst that could possibly happen. And then obviously we already know all the amazing, you know, situations you can get yourself into. But yeah, it is that frustrating thing where you're like, dude, you're going to be doing this for the next 10 years, 5 years, and you're still going to be here. And every time I see you, you know, you might be like, man, I see what you guys are doing. And it's like,
well, and you
come on,
probably
bro.
get the same thing. But guys are like, well, what do you do now? And it's like, because people are gonna do the same thing forever. Not have like I just I grew up playing sports. Do you play sports growing up? What sports you play?
Football, basketball, track.
Everything. Yeah.
Yeah.
So like just like having seasons and off seasons and like different phases of our business for me is like so cool.
Oh, it's the best.
Like now that I'm it feels crazy to say. I guess I'm going on. Am I going on 7 years now, or 8?
Wow.
I think it's
7.
But just like I have little phases of like right now we're in a phase of preseason / MDPs, all kind of packed in together. You know, It feels like every single weekend we have something going, and then all of a sudden summer starts.
Yep.
But it's like I just love the little phases that we have. I love how it's set up like a sports season. Broski was making a joke about his Clash of Clans earlier, but you know, the Clash of Clans regular season and championship or whatever. But we were just talking about the Shield we have, like just how it's like the NFL or whatever, the playoffs. It's just cool. I like the way it's set up, but back to the point, like some of these guys are going to be doing the same exact thing, regardless of what. It doesn't matter if it's January, February, March, April,
Yep.
November, December, like. They're doing the same exact thing for the next 6 years until they can get that little bit of a promotion, and
Now,
hopefully they get it,
now
right?
I kind of want to talk about that, bro, because, you know, there's an idea that, you know, success leaves footprints. How much more of an example, you know, you are a guy that has consistently, consecutively, like, produced, made good money, brought people out, you know, taught people the ways to make good money. What do you think is the sole reason why people that are in your circle or that know of Noah Griffiths would not take this opportunity and come out?
Wow, that's a really good question. I'll have to think about that for a second. I'll ask you.
You say why not?
Why are people?
I can think of some examples.
Why are people in your guys' circle? I mean, I mean, obviously, besides the obvious answer that, I mean, people in general, not just my circle. Obviously, there's a lot of reasons we talked about why people don't come out in general. As I think about that question, you know, either one of you guys, why do you think people in your circles, especially, you know, I say, you know, you guys over me, just because of, you know, I've only been doing this for 3 years, right? And so the type of success I've had is like, I think you gain momentum every year to a certain extent, just because people are like, you know, it's kind of flashy when people first see it. Like, you know, you might move to a new place. I mean, both you guys, you know, are married and have houses, which is like the most incredible thing ever, especially at your guys' age, to be financially comfortable and to be doing that, and everything that comes along with that. But every single year you kind of build that resume like, oh, this is legit. Oh, okay. And it's not just like, oh, he's doing the same thing. It's like, oh, now he's buying a house. Oh, he's moving here. And now he's bringing his boys along, whatever it is. And so for you guys with a deeper resume, why do you feel like for you guys there's still people in your circle? Because I know there is who haven't given a rip.
I misunderstood the question. I thought you were saying like why, like what type of person shouldn't do this job. And I was just gonna say if you got an NFL contract, an NBA contract,
Yeah.
or a contract from a record label that's
Yeah.
millions of dollars, then yeah.
Or your ball brother, whatever it is. Yeah.
Do
So
that.
I guess what I was
It's
trying
like
to get into with that is like, the whole idea of leading by example, and just the idea that success leaves footprints, like the footprints that you have left, the example that you have set. What are like a reason or some reasons why you think that people that are in your warm network would not choose to come
They
out
think
and take
he's
this
special.
opportunity?
Did
the
I
reason.
misunderstand the question? I mean, I think that
they think you're different, and you're and like,
Yeah.
and I'm not trying to be an ass. Sorry for cussing, but like, you're like, I'm not special. You're not special.
Yeah.
We've just like, dude, we didn't
Yeah.
invent any of this stuff. They've been doing this since 2007. Like, I don't know what I was doing
Yeah.
in 2007. You know what I mean? Like,
and it's incredible.
sorry to answer your question, but it's like
It's a good answer.
that's always like.
And that's what I was going to probably get to is that
It's
they
like,
think
bro, he's
that they would think that you're
special, and that's what
special.
people think.
Yeah.
And
it's not true.
And unfortunately, that's not to boost egos and shit.
Yeah.
But it's like none of us are. Like,
It's true.
we're just applying the stuff that was given to us, and some people just weren't willing to do it.
Yeah, and I think honestly that's why everyone has like some limiting beliefs within, or a lot of people have limiting beliefs in recruiting and stuff. Like you hear guys say, oh, I didn't make a lot of money my first summer. I don't think I can get guys to come out in the summer.
Yeah.
I remember for me, my first summer, I was like, I don't, there's some guys who I don't think they're going to believe I made six figures in the summer. Like it's just, there's not another opportunity you can do that and go out and make that money. Like, man, like, I have all this and it's real. I moved to my parents' house. I, bought a car, all these things, but people aren't going to, understand that. And so, which is completely silly, right? But it is one of those things where it's like, you put your feet somewhere and you work hard and you can make it happen. It's same as learning a sport, learning an instrument. It's like if you've never played basketball and you come out to, for me or for anyone, right? If I had never played basketball before and I stepped on the court for the first time, I'm not going to be nice, right? And so I think a lot of people, like you're saying, like see people's success and think like, oh yeah, we just popped up on the scene and we're doing good. It's like, no, dude, you haven't seen all the training, all the hours. And so I think it's the same for you guys where, and there's a lot of great examples. Ben, right, coming out like it's easier to see, in a journey like that. But we all were bad when we started. Promise we were all bad when we started. So it's cool.
Yeah, it's funny. Always looking back at videos of guys in their first doors.
Oh, yeah.
They're now 200, 300, 400K reps. It's just crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is that kind of where you're headed with that question?
Yeah, exactly with that.
My bad. I didn't mean to answer his question.
No,
Now you're going.
that's good.
It's like, I feel like that's what people think. It's like, oh, like you like couldn't answer the question earlier, and it was like, do you feel like you were ambitious? Yeah, you were ambitious, and I think that people probably saw you as that. So now that you're having the success, people are like, oh, that makes sense. We knew he was going to figure something out.
Right. Yeah.
And the craziest thing is the business model, systems, and everything that we have through Go Shield. It's like it doesn't matter whether you were or weren't that person. It's just those types of people, the ambitious type of people, are probably more willing to take the risk on themselves to take the job in the first place.
Right.
And so then all of a sudden here he is.
I mean, one of my takes with it too is that I believe anyone that's in a position where they're contemplating taking this opportunity based off their current position that they're in, they should look at it in one of two ways. If you're in a position to where if you leave to take an opportunity and you can't come back to that position, means that you probably weren't valued the way that you thought that you were valued for them to be able to accept you back to that position. Or it could be the case that, like you're taking this risk, you're taking this opportunity, what if it worked out? If it worked out, you're achieving all of your wildest dreams to be able to have this opportunity. And if you're in a position to where the other people value the way that you thought, then if this position didn't work out, then you can go back to that and resume that old position that you were in. So there's no reason why you shouldn't take an opportunity like this, because we've seen it work out for people that didn't believe within themselves that it would work out, but because they took the chance, took the opportunity, worked on it, turned out to be the way that it is.
I have a question to follow that up, because I love that. And I think whenever people hear, that kind of message, I think immediately a lot of people go, well, like, why do why are you so passionate? Why do you care so much? Like, why do you care if I get in this position? Like, if I'm someone who's from the outside, like, why do you care if I come do sales and I'm successful? So, to anyone thinking that, like, not that what's in it for you, but like, why do you care so much? Where does your guys' passion stem from? Kind of answer that question, because I think that'll help a lot of people understand why it's important.
Because I think that just in general, the way it's set up in life and in the world is that we are almost set up to be exploited. We will always be working harder than what we are actually being paid for and compensated for. So for you to be in a realm of a world in which the hardest workers in the room are usually the guys that are getting paid the most. And you're having the ability to learn from guys that are the highest producers within that industry. It's not like you're the best guy in the room. Proximity is power. So we're frequently, consistently being put in environments where we are not the smartest in the room, not the best in the room. So we're always constantly being able to grow. So I think for us to be able to be in that environment, I think we're always changing, evolving, and getting better. Whereas if we were not around this, not with this, we were just constantly on the same trajectory and not really growing within that.
Yeah, I definitely have an answer to this question too, and I love that. In this, you want to go, because I know exactly why I'm passionate. But
I mean, to try not to get, I'm not gonna try to give a super long answer to this, but like my goal and like path in life, I thought coming out of high school is that I was gonna be a basketball coach. So now I'm a coach. Like, I coach sales. Like, I was joking with you, Coach Lee, earlier, but like, we are coaches. Like, we're coaching people on sales. So many of the guys that I feel super lucky and fortunate, not lucky, fortunate that these guys, like the guys I work with, are willing to come to me with like stuff in their like regular life for advice on that, and I'm able to give them my advice, and they know that I'm going to give them honest advice just because that's how I am, and I think they appreciate that, So like I think that because of sports growing up, because of coaches I had that had such a good impact on me, I always wanted to like just have people in my life look at me as like, yeah, he had an impact on it. Like he impacted the way that I am, and in a good way type of thing. And so I don't know, dude, it goes back, and I'm not like, it's a vision board, so it hasn't happened yet. It's like on my vision board, I don't have a picture of one Lambo or one Ferrari or one Audi R8. It's like I have a picture of like 20 of them, because it's like,
let's go.
It's like
That's hype.
It's like, and they're all in a row at a stop sign, driving together, all caravanning around this cool, looks like a cool road to drive those types of cars on. It's just,
What does that represent?
it represents me and all the boys in the future
I love that.
with our cars,
I love that.
and it's like, not everybody's a car person, but the point is like, I want to have just a positive impact on people that I'm around, and selfishly, I love the setup, dude.
Yeah.
I really do. It's like I'll be able to take my kids to school at like with the trajectory I'm on, and like some parents never get to do that. Some parents never get to pick their kids up. They go to extended not extended stay, extended cares or whatever after school. And not that that's bad, because I went to those growing up, so not that it's bad. It's just, it's the classic, not wanting to necessarily, not that I had a terrible childhood growing up or anything, or I'm not trying to say that, but just, I want to go to my kids' practices. I want to go to their games. I want to go, and I look up, and it just makes so much sense. Like, we're so lucky to have Jay, and obviously Mike and Pat are awesome examples too. Gaines, Greg and Doug, and all the guys that we get to look up to. But it's like seeing them get to interact with their families, get to actually spend time with them. Like, it's like, dang, like most people don't get to do that with their families, and it's pretty sad. And like that, with the ultimate goal of like having family want to spend time with you, having friends want to spend time with you, it's like you gotta have some sort of good impact for that to happen, So I just want to have everybody like, and it's funny, I was DMing a guy yesterday, sells pest for another company, and I was joking with him because he's knocking right now, and he'll probably, if he listens to this, he's gonna hate that I said this because he knows it's him. But it's like, hey bro, you need to come back to Eco so you don't have to knock in January to make money.
Yeah.
You know, like
Yeah.
kind of messing with him. But it's like, whenever I slide up on his stories, you know, like just checking up on him or whatever, he's like, he always like gives me credit, like, dude, I learned from the best, he's with another company now, but like that's why I do it. Like I have guys that sell solar, roofing, pest control that sold with us, now they're at other companies, and they like every time I hit them up, ask them how they are, whatever, like they give me my flowers, you know, where it's like, you know, they give me credit. It's like, dude, I appreciate everything you did for me, and it's like that's the main reason for it, because like I definitely had a lot of coaches and people growing up that did that for me.
Yeah.
So
That
I don't
impact.
know, that's all. That's a long answer to your little question there. There's materialistic stuff connected to it, but it's really it really for me ties into the family thing in the future as far as time and freedom. Like,
Yeah.
dude, like that 8 months is a super important time to be able to spend with family and have an impact on them. And I love the setup. I can't complain.
Sounds like it.
And
Yeah.
everybody else, it just, like I was saying earlier too, I feel like a lot of other people my age that have been in different positions, all they can do is complain, and I can't find a reason why to complain, you know?
Yeah.
So I just feel super fortunate for that. What's your answer to that question?
I love that.
That was a great
that was
question.
that was a great. Both of those were insane answers, and I love, you know, a lot of those aspects. You're talking about like impact, and then also, you know, not just how you've been impacting your past and how you want to pass that on, but also to your family, like taking care of your family. And I think, you know, I really resonate with a lot of what both of you guys said. I think the main reason, you know, for me, if someone's like, yeah, why do these guys like? Why are they so passionate? Why do they care about, you know, me as an outsider doing this job? And I think for me, it's just because the job has done so much for my life. Like, and I don't take enough opportunities to be grateful and really think about it. But just being able to do what I do, you know, there's the materialistic, like, cool, you know, living on the beach, driving the dream truck, you know, traveling all the time. Like that stuff is, you know, materialistic. And there's also, for me, it's just being able to impact my family, you know, bring them along, support my mom and my dad, and then ultimately provide for my family. And so for me as a man, that's something I really care about, being able to be that guy where I can say confidently, you know, hey, like, you know, my wife won't have to work. You know, if she wants to do whatever, cool, but that's like an option she's gonna have, and I'll be able to be there for my family and take care of those people. And so I think for me, it's like, you know, when, like, if someone listening to this, it's like, you know, if that person were to do this job or not, either way, it's not gonna change what's going on in my life.
Right.
But what's so cool is, like, you know, this job has literally done so much for me, like just this opportunity, that's why I'm so passionate about it. It's like I love my life. Like I love what we do. It is insane. And it's like, it's cliche, like, you know, there's a lot of rah, 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 but there really is, like, you know, for all the people that see what we're doing just from social media or just knowing us, and it's like, you know, there's a lot of times people are, you know, giving you your flowers for, you know, your impact, or just even just observing what you're doing and being like, hey, this is so cool. You know, I'm like, dude, it goes back to what you're saying. It's like, hey, I'm doing this. I love life. I have nothing to complain about. There's things that are difficult, but I'm not complaining about anything. I'm grateful for the challenges. This is so sick. You should come do this too. Like, this is just so much fun.
Yeah.
And so I think for me, that's where my passion stems from. But I actually really love those answers, and I think that'll help people kind of understand, like, you know, that's where it comes from.
Mm-hmm.
That's where it is.
I think that for whatever reason, there's also just, and this is like maybe off topic, but there's just a slight misunderstanding too. It's like almost every other job that's like you get hit up and recruited kind of in a fashion that we do, don't have good intentions and are set up in a different model. You know, it's a different business model to where hiring people means you don't work anymore, or, you know, like you're sitting here, you were the number one producer on your team this past year, and you probably have been every year, right? Mm-hmm. It's hold on to that crown as long as you can. I lost that crown.
It's getting harder every year.
I didn't to Dave because we found out cancels today. He's sick about it. No, he found out cancels. Don't do it. You saw the cancels today. Who had more active rep?
That's all right, man. It is what it is.
Vern, you saw it today too. On the
Right, he
computer.
had 9 less cancels than me. It's cool. It's cool.
9. This big 3% is quite a bit, Bob.
Sorry,
For me or whoever doesn't know the situation, let's get a quick. So we finished at a certain place, and then we active or is a little bit different. What's the situation? Just so I'm filled in, and I know.
Gotcha. So I finished.
To make it make
summer.
sense to this, can I just give my example? This is how I explain to people that I'm hiring. So like,
What do you mean?
Wait.
As far as cancels and active
is that
revenue?
not what we're about to talk about?
I was just gonna say.
I finished the summer with like 5K more than Hogan,
Okay.
and then I ended the summer with final cancellations.
5K more on pest routes. On active rev, you didn't have a pass.
No, it was active revenue on pest routes. We
No.
have the most recent.
Pest
heat
routes
map.
doesn't the heat.
No,
What'd the heat map say?
Active rev on the
What'd the heat map say?
Bro, when the summer ended,
Oh my god.
August
dude.
31st,
Wait.
I had more active revenue.
This is easy because this is documented, so we can not now, but later we can go back
We
and
can't
check.
go back.
I guess
It's
this
gonna
is
hurt
this is a debate, and I just got in the middle of it, and I love it.
Because you might have had more on
I
the
love
pest routes app that's wrong.
No, I had more on the active revenue heat map on August 31st that was sent to
I love it. As you guys can
Just saw
tell,
the email
Now
earlier
you do
today.
have
We're
more
competitive.
because of less cancellations. It's all good. I'm taking it in H-Town.
Where at? Is that how we're
Yeah,
dropping
you
this?
gonna come out of
Is that how we're
retirement?
Well-
dropping this?
You gonna come out of retirement and take a full car route?
since we're
I've been taking
talking,
a car route.
we're talking markets and stuff, and you guys asked me where I was going this summer and where I was at last summer. You guys this past summer were in Maryland, right? And I hear it's a rumor that there's a place that you guys are going to this summer, and I want to hear kind of about that. Tell me, what's the deal?
Yeah, they call them rumors. What you got, Dave?
It's a tremendous opportunity
Let's hear it.
for us and the boys. I think we have a chance to go put on a bulk of revenue. And my younger brother's in the background, who I co-run the team with. Shout out to the heartbeat of the foundation. Vernon's in the background. But me and
the
the
heartbeat.
boys got an opportunity to go tear up H-Town, Houston. Never been
Houston.
Never been to Houston.
No way.
But word on the street is it's the 4th buggiest city in America. Third. Oh, it moved up. I love it. So, I mean, that's a tremendous opportunity.
Number
Me
two,
and the
number
boys
2 is, right?
What's number 2?
Baltimore.
Really?
Yeah.
Ah, so it's
3 is Houston.
Yeah, so we're up.
Wow.
We're winning.
So
Everything's
just
bigger in
2
Texas.
buggy cities.
Yeah, everything's bigger in Texas. So me and the foundation is
Wow.
me foundation and the Sharks, portion of the Sharks are going out to
Okay.
Houston.
So does that mean that your team is now going to be in both markets?
Yeah, so I'll have guys. And,
Wow.
Well, we're splitting Maryland too, so it's like 1 to 3 locations technically.
Okay.
But we're gonna try and keep our guys in Maryland together. We don't want to split that group again. And
Yeah.
plus, kind of like you said, bro. Like even guys that you may not know, like we really do have like really good like culture, and I think the guys really like each other, trust each other, and I guess this is my call out to the team. Like that's gonna be tested this year. Being separated. I talked about it on the calls. It's like the stuff that Vern did, the heartbeat of the foundation. He was the heartbeat of the whole office last year with the stuff that he was doing in our
That's so
morning
awesome.
meetings. And it's like somebody that's not in the foundation's got to replace that. There's stuff that people in Gray Matter and Broski's team that they were doing that either I need to find somebody to replace on my management, or you guys do, because we got to do that in Houston too. So
Houston.
it's going to be big about. What's going to be big is just holding the standards, holding the line, and making sure that we're not changing what worked, But as far as opportunity, I'm pumped. It's not that it wasn't on my radar. Dude, when you first partner in, you're like, "Oh, give me every office. Give me all of them. Let's go open up every.
Yeah.
Let's open up every.
Let's take over the world. Yeah.
But then, you're sitting there and you have a good culture. And they're like, hey, you're too big, not too big, but just there's an opportunity here for you to go and backfill, and that's what we originally did in Maryland. We got there and there was 3 or 4 people that were selling in Maryland. They were about going to shut it down.
Save the branch.
I
No
mean,
way.
It's
Wow.
You can ask Jay more about it, but that's basically what happened.
That's insane. I didn't know that.
I mean, not that that's the situation in Houston. There's just an opportunity for us to
Right.
go there, and I mean, I'm pumped. I live in Dallas, so bro, I'm not gonna take a flight. I'm not taking a day drive. Just going handful of miles south to our new spot for the summer, like
How far is that drive?
3 or 4 hours.
4 hours.
You know, it's like I'm pumped about it. Like,
I love it. Get a chance to experience a new city.
yeah, new city.
Texas is supposed to be the great migrant state. A lot of people have been
Oh, yeah.
migrating
It's
there
booming.
for the past decade.
It's booming. Like, I mean, I've been in Maryland for 6 straight years. So it's
Okay.
like, not that I had knocked every neighborhood in Maryland because it's not possible, I don't think. But like I was trying this past summer. It's crazy. Like one summer I was like, I'm gonna knock all the neighborhoods I've already knocked. Did well doing that. This past couple summers,
That's
I'm
so
like,
fire. Just trying things out. I've already done this. I'm just gonna have
so
fun.
the next couple, like the past 2
insane.
summers, I've been knocking. I'm making sure that I knock neighborhoods I've never knocked before.
Right.
And so,
Wow.
Houston, I haven't knocked any of it. So I'm excited,
There it
to figure
is.
out what it's like.
What are you guys most excited about? Each of you, like I know there's probably one thing or a couple things you like have in mind. Is there anything you guys? I guess first question I would have is like, is there anything you guys are not nervous about, but just like I guess nervous about? Is there anything you guys are nervous about? And then what are you most excited about?
I can't give my answer here. It's going to sound super conceited and arrogant.
He's nervous. You guys are gonna dominate. You're nervous.
I'm nervous for other people. How it's going to look when we go down there.
I love it. I love it. I love it. It's confidence right there.
That's
confidence. Yeah.
Sorry.
I love it.
That sounds super arrogant.
No, that was fire.
That's funny.
Yeah, that was
So
fire.
I'm nervous for other people.
Yep.
It was most nervous, and what was the second one?
And then what are you most excited for?
So I can start off with the most excited for. I think I am most excited to just, be in a position where, like, I think every off season we get better. The training gets better, the preparation gets better going into the summer. I think I'm most excited to just be able to put more guys in a position, collectively. It's a whole unit here, but collectively put guys in a position to be better financially free. So I just feel like this is going to be the summer where we're going to have the most guys make the most amount of money this summer, the highest per rep average. Guys are going to, actually start to see the benefits of the work that they're most nervous for is that as well, right? Because I feel like within guys achieving levels that they never achieved before, I just hope that they, listen to all of the investment that we have done as a business to try and develop them as better leaders, better humans, better people. Because not only do we put you in a position to make that amount of money and achieve the most of money that you've ever made, but we also try and teach you how to control that new level. There's oftentimes said that, money's a magnifying glass. Who you are without it, or the person you are without money, or a person like that with money, or
Amplifies it.
Yeah.
It's a magnifying glass, right? So you guys get what I'm saying with that. And I just hope that, the guys that are now going to be achieving those levels have been buying into the things that we have been trying to teach them as they're on this journey of making more, earning more, being more.
I love that. I definitely have actually a follow-up question for that. And I guess you didn't tell me your things you're most excited for.
Excited for? I just think just new stuff. Just seeing something new every day. Like, it's crazy. Like, I feel like I know Maryland better than I know Arkansas, and I lived there for 18 years, It's
Yeah.
like, that's how I feel about it. Cause
Yeah.
just going
It's
back,
true.
living at the same places every day. People are like, what's that neighborhood? It's like, oh, pull it up. Like, it takes me 30 seconds to pull up a neighborhood in the middle of Maryland, like, and the exact street that they're talking about, because I just know all, like, it's the 6 human needs or whatever, and I don't know all of them, but I think one of them is variety, and I feel like I have that. That's one of my 6 human needs that
Gotcha.
I lean towards
Gotcha.
is variety, and so having something new is super exciting.
Yeah.
I'm super. What on the flip side, excited for Houston. I'm really excited for the group I have staying in Maryland too, because that group, I was talking to Broski about it, and most of the guys out in the office in Maryland are going to be under his downline. There's a handful that aren't, but I am most excited for some of our experienced managers that have even already made a bunch of money. It's like not that I was like doing all this stuff or whatever, but now I'm not there, and like Vern's not there, and other people that had roles aren't there, and like it's gonna be super exciting to show up for me, like flying out there to visit, whatever the case ends up being, like
Totally.
to see them stepping up into those positions. So I'm super excited for that because I think that like we can all in this room think of some guys that like I'll be doing a training call, and then all of a sudden one of the guys starts talking about something, they almost take over the training because they're so ready to train, and I never cut them off because that's a good thing, you know. And I'm excited for some of those guys to just have more control and power. It's also a weird feeling giving away control and power, you know.
Yeah.
And that's probably the wrong way to put it and think about it, but just delegating is the right word, obviously.
Yeah.
It's I'm just pumped.
Those roles. Yeah.
The newness of it makes me feel like there's a new obstacle or like a new challenge almost.
Do you feel like there's a fresh wind in your sails? Do you feel like there's a little bit of like, you know, being in the same market, you know, and you're someone you're very calm and collective, but you have like what we call that bottle enthusiasm where like you're super passionate. But just going to that new place, do you feel like there's like a little bit of like, oh dude, like I'm excited to just go conquer this new place or go like dominate?
100%. I feel that. Like I talk to them, you know, on the phone all the time, obviously, but it's like one of the things we've been talking about a ton this off season is like if it, you know, because I wasn't supposed to say anything because I wasn't even supposed to know, but I knew, told them.
That's how it goes.
Yeah, and so in my head, it's like as far as preparation, it's almost like you said, going to conquer, headed to war,
Yeah.
to a new place that I've never been before. So
Yeah.
it's like we're sitting here talking about our standards. Like we got to show up with the right people. Like we got to look to our right and left, and if it's to your right and to your left are both rookies, like we got to know that this rookie's ready to go to war.
Yeah.
Because that's what it's going to be. We don't know what it's like. It's uncharted territory, you know, ready to be conquered. I'm pumped. I'm super excited about it overall. So
that transition's like kind of exactly what I was going to ask you, which it perfectly ties into that, which you had mentioned, you know, having, you know, a culture and having, you know, guys who in both locations had a certain bond, had a certain trust with each other. And then, you know, you had mentioned, you know, as guys start to make more money, having those things that you guys have taught them, really those character traits, it sounds like. And this is something that I'm really passionate about. I mentioned like this is something that I really care about with my teams. What emphasis do you guys have within your teams, within your structure, with what you teach on character specifically? And like, what does that look like? How does that take form when you guys are training guys or within your code of conduct, your creed, your commandments, whatever that looks like? You know, what part does character itself take place?
well, I don't know if you knew this. The S and H in Shark, for my team name, it's just the way I did it.
Yeah.
Not
How do you spell
really-
it for people who don't know?
It's SHRK. There's
Okay.
no A. It's just how I did it. It's what I wanted. It's an acronym. The S and H stand for selfless and honorable.
I love that.
I think those are like as far as pillar things to be a good salesperson, regardless of whether you're selling pest control, private jets or yachts. Like you need to be an honorable person, and when you take a selfless approach with your pitch or however you want to call it, like you're gonna have more success when the person you're trying to sell feels like you're actually trying to help them versus trying to help yourself and make a deal. Like it just is what it is, and that's one. It's like a full training I do. I literally do a training on what shark means. Like obviously sharks when they swim forward, you put them in an aquarium. They will also potential the shark kind of makes sense, but I do a full training on it. Like it's a morning meeting, you know, and these guys don't know how to roll any objections, and I'm teaching them this.
I love that.
And so it might seem backwards, but like it's an emphasis that we put on, you know. It's like, and you know, in our management chats, Broski sold well over 450 accounts this year and had below 15% canceled. So like we're hyping them up for that. I think it's just little things.
So you'd say you put a priority on it. Hey, like there's this skill set we need to teach you, but there's a more important skill set, which is your character.
Yeah, and it's like, dude, you hire guys that haven't ever been. It like just being a good example, because you know how many eyes are on you as a leader. That, like, and you remember being a rookie where you're just like every experienced guy when they walk in the room, you're just like kind of watching what they're doing. You know, like I don't talk negatively about people. I don't I try to be a good person, you know. It's like I feel like Dave and Vern obviously are great examples of that. Parks and Broski do a good job of that. The high level managers on my team, Grayson, you know, Will, Eli, shouts out to them. Like they do a super good job at that. To where it's like it's not cool to be a bad person.
Yeah.
Like if you're a bad dude, like that's not cool. And I like not to toot my own horn. This is not really necessarily something to toot your own horn about, but it's like we've let people go on our team that were high producing reps that weren't working, weren't holding standards, or were bad people. I like doing certain things off the doors that were causing trouble to other people on the team. Like, all right, man. Like it's just we've done what we could to actually hold a standard. There's been so many moments where we could have let things slide, and you just don't. You know, especially with the summer. There's so many things about the summer that are so uncomfortable for that rookie or for that rep already. That one thing that is just, at least for me, makes my blood boil is annoying people. And I don't mean that I get annoyed at people a lot. It's just people that aren't holding those standards or living up to their, you know,
making other people's lives
living
difficult.
up to what everybody here is supposed to be doing. And and then, you know, typically if you have good standards and have good team stuff, like typically that will lead to sales. Like people don't really realize that, like the better person you are, the more disciplined you are, the happier you are, the better you treat people, the more selfless and the more honorable approach you take to each situation, you'll make more deals. Like people don't realize that. It's almost twisted to where the world thinks that if you're good at sales or you're good for this or that, like you're not a good person.
Yeah.
And it's like you actually can't get to that level unless you're a good person.
It's true. Yeah, you can't truly get to that level, right? Like you might be able to act a certain way and sell a certain amount of accounts, or you might, you know what I mean? Like there's guys who put up, especially at like other companies, we won't name names, but it's like there's a lot of people who put up numbers.
Yeah.
But it's like when you look at retention, when you look at how much fall off because they weren't honest or they weren't doing it right, it's like you may have sold this number, but if only this number is active, you know how, you know, what kind of salesman are you actually, right? How, you know, how good are you really? And so I think that is so true. And I think that, I mean, you use the word typically. I think it's like 100%. You know, I think guys like Gaines and Doug and Greg, like I look up to those. I mean, obviously we all look up to those guys. And I think that some people don't realize how much of an emphasis, you know, they have on those things, or how much they really care. Because I think like when you listen to Gaines and those guys talk about character and about the things you're talking about, upholding, you know, and living up to the standards, like that's like they care about having, you know, those good people in the right places more than anything, for the reputation of the business, for everything. So
dude, it's crazy to say, but I've been doing this so long to where I've seen it play out. I've kept guys around for too long. I really have, to where I'm at that point now where it's like I don't really even care who you were or what your rev is at.
Yeah.
You know, you could be the number one sales rep on the team or whatever, but if you're not, it's like it's not worth keeping those people around. And yeah, I mean, but you know, I think it's just taken time to emphasize it to where, you know, like you got to think like we're hiring guys our age. They're used to 40-year-old dudes, you know, telling them what to do and being their manager or their leader. And I feel like it's almost like a little, not cringy, but just almost a little like skin crawling and uncomfortable for me as a guy their age to get up there and be like, I have an acronym for our team name and it means a lot to us and this is what it is, and like fully explain how it's like, why is this guy doing this? But like it's I think just when you put that emphasis on it is when it actually makes a difference, you know?
Yeah.
It's like the you know, what was really cool, and I've never really even said thank you for this, but J-Lo, once I told J-Lo and told, you know, some of the guys like, oh, I'm naming the team shirt, he went and bought a bunch of sharks and put them up on the wall.
Dude, that's insane.
But it's and then we have this guy named Bruce. He's a big, like probably 5 foot inflatable shark that we like always put in our pictures or whatever. And it's just like you said with the arc, you're like, oh, I'm trying to come up with a different name, but it's like once the people around you kind of start buying into the idea, even if it's people above you, and then all of a sudden people below you are like messing with this shark, and calling themselves the Sharks. It's like that's a good feeling, and you know you're on like it was probably a good thought, or you know you're probably doing things right if that's what's happening, you know. So
Yeah. Well, I'm curious now because you mentioned Sharks, SHRK,
okay,
SHRK. You told me selfless and honorable, which
relentless is
okay,
the R.
relentless.
Just kind of having that characteristic,
Yeah.
taking that on. I think that's important for what we do. The K is for killers, which is just we have, and we talked about finite and infinite games today. Obviously, that's one of my favorite books we've read this off season. But the killers thing, I was thinking about it after we like partnered up and we're talking about it. It's like the killers thing is kind of an infinite idea. But it just really means just being competitive, not being okay with losing, you know, like and it's, so I guess that it could be finite, no, it could be infinite, not finite.
Okay.
Because it's, okay, I got that twisted. I was thinking that it was a finite thing, but it can be infinite just depending on how you look at it. Like, because you're not going to win everything, you're going to have losses, and it's just not being okay with the losses, learning from them.
Yeah.
Kind of keep moving, but at the end of the day, sharks can only swim forward. So that's another idea behind it. So selfless, honorable, relentless killers is kind of what it means. And I just think that those four, not tenets, but those four things, like if you can kind of embody those four things as a salesperson, like
Yeah.
doesn't even really matter for pest control, like you're going to be pretty good. You know, you'll do numbers, you'll hit your goals. Because I think that, kind of like Jay says, like comparison's the thief of happiness, depending on how you take it. You know,
Mm-hmm.
if your comparison can be a good thing, it can be a motivating thing, and so the killers and being competitive, losing can be a good thing because you learn how to win, or you learn why you lost, or you know whatever the case is. So sharks also like the other, I guess, to give you the full thing, because I've never said it on the podcast actually, but people are probably like trying to type in the podcast spelling it wrong because there's no A. There's not really a big reason why, but just sharks. If you put a shark in an aquarium, it's not going to grow to like what it could have grown into if it was in an ocean. And so that whole idea is I want to create an environment where people can feel like they're going to be able to reach their full potential, and they're not put in a box or an aquarium where this is as big as you can grow.
That's fire.
And so
That's insane.
yeah, and then on top of it, like I've said, sharks can't swim backwards; they can only swim forward. So that's the idea of progress equals happiness. And so that's the whole shark thing for me. I thought it was, you know, when I came up with it, I was like, I couldn't really tell if this was cool or people would like it or catch on. But then when people start catching on, it's a good feeling. You feel like you're on a good path. So that's kind of the backstory there on why.
I love that.
And probably could have come up with something for an A, but I just didn't. It's just like I like the way the shark went, just SHRK without it. So here we are.
And you know immediately when you see SHRK, you go boom, that's your team. Yeah. So it is cool. And I had never seen on the podcast. So
sorry to cut you off. That spell check on my computer and my phone doesn't fix me anymore.
Hey, it's learned.
It doesn't put the red under.
It knows.
Under the.
It knows the deal.
It's misspelled. It's like it's seen it so much that it's normal. So that was a cool moment too when the iPhone started catching up. So
yeah,
anyways, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, dude, I was just gonna say that. Yeah, like on the podcast, I'd always see the name, and I knew there was meaning behind it. I never knew what it was. So to hear like, hey, this is what it was, I think is super cool for me to learn, and also everyone to just hear like, hey, this is what it stands for. And
it's be a bunch of sharks coming to take over a new place this next summer, you know.
Yeah.
And then we got a bunch that are
bricks
really,
huh? We got a bunch of bricks being laid.
Oh.
Yeah.
Wait a minute. Transition
there.
He threw alley-oop to himself off the backboard. That was insane. Yep, he knew what he was doing. Go ahead.
Just before I exited and then came back, you guys were talking about just character and how important character or how integral character is when it comes to, you know, building what it is that we're building. And I think just getting back into the idea that success leaves footprints. You know, like we're fortunate enough that literally within the first 15 pages of our sales manual, which don't like to necessarily put it on the same context as the Bible, but our sales manual that we are given once signing to come work with EcoShield. I think it's kind of on the level of a Bible. Like it teaches you everything that you would need to know, the understanding of it all. But literally within the first 15 pages, there's a chapter on integrity. And, within our onboarding that we kind of have put together and created, we hit so hard on integrity. So when it comes to character and just, we don't just want to create or help build people that make astronomical amounts of money, but we want to create better people, better humans. And I think when it comes down to that, there is a common misconception and negative connotation with the salesman that they're sleazy, they lie, they misinterpret, they miscommunicate, they do all of these things that wouldn't constitute you wanting to buy from them from the door. So when it comes to having a mission statement, the foundation is, we believe in building a better you, or not we believe in, but building a better you brick by brick, right? So within that is the idea that we're not cutting corners, we're doing it the right way. We are, having some basic principles that we believe in, and the idea behind having a solid foundation is that you can build anything that you want on it. There's a natural disaster that can come through and destroy that entire structure, and the foundation will still be in place. So the idea is that, we are hoping and working toward building something that can withstand anything that can knock it down, and you'll still have something solid to stand on. So when it comes to character, I think just creating better people, it's easier to do such when you are around better people. So,
And how do you, first of all, I love that, your name also, that brick by brick, to me, the first thing I think of is your story in the company, right? There's some people who just get hired on or come from other companies, whatever the case may be. But for you, literally brick by brick, starting out, as a technician and working way to being an owner, that's as brick by brick as I think you could possibly get. What are those like specific things, if you guys have them, where because for me as a leader, I love to learn what other leaders are doing. Like what are those things that you guys do when you guys have those conversations around character, or for you is the main focus setting just the best example when it comes to character? Do you guys have discussions around it? Do you guys have like certain guidelines, like an acronym or something like that?
So I think the premise or the starting of it all comes from just trying to just be a better example. So when it comes from that, I think, it's one of those things, like I quoted it at MVP, but I was like, I'll never send my homies on a mission I won't slide on. So I'll never tell my guys to do something that I'm not out there actively doing. I won't tell my guys to never, I won't ever tell my guys to be on time to a meeting and I'm the guy that's late. So I always try to be, me and Berners always try to be the examples of what we hope guys should want to do. And within doing that, we are some of the top producers on our team. We are the top producers on our team. So it's like the more and more we try and pour in and put into and be the example, we just hope that guys are willing to, follow the footprints that we're hoping to have led or left behind.
100%.
That's money.
One thing that I think that we're just forgetting that we did, it's probably not across the board. So like in the morning meetings for you guys, do you do war stories? Like have guys go up and give war stories?
Yeah, we will, or we'll do it within our, we do it on the way home in our car groups.
Okay.
Like war stories only, so.
So we did war stories, and obviously like you eventually get to the point where it's like that's taking up too much time.
Yeah.
This year instead of
what are war stories for people who don't know what they are?
So war stories is just, so that's what I was going to tell you. We kind of like did a twist on our war stories this year, but the war stories in the past, at least in my experience, were just crazy sales. Like something crazy happened and you pulled off the deal. Like you got chased by the dog, whatever, and then you're standing up on, we had a guy last year, got chased by the dog, ends up jumping on top of a mailbox and signs up the people, like price sheets them while he's on top of the mailbox.
No way.
Signs them up, everything. While he's on top of the mailbox. It was like a brick mailbox. So
and the dog was still there.
I think they put the dog up or whatever eventually, but it's like there was so much going on at the
That's
moment, but
crazy.
Like, all he knew was to get the price sheet, and so next thing he was pricing him, and they actually needed service.
Wow.
So like that's like a war story. It's like something crazy that happens. This year we did a twist on it, where like if you did something cool for somebody, like that was the war story. It's like you signed somebody up, and then took their trash out, and one of the reasons we started doing this was it was one of your reps that you brought out. He was like, this lady was so interested, I couldn't close a deal. And who knows what the actual case was, but it was night meeting. He was asking a question. He was like, how would you close this deal? Like, this lady said she had a bunch of bags of leaves in her backyard, and she didn't want to get the service done until those bags of leaves were in the front on the front street. And I was like, how many bags was it? He was like, 7 or 8. I said, I would have picked up every single one of those bags myself and moved them
immediately
myself.
Yeah.
And then she would have got signed up.
Yeah.
And so. That's when we kind of had like an aha moment, like, okay, instead of war stories being like, I knocked on 19 no soliciting signs and they let's make it like, I signed up this lady, she, let's say it's an older lady, and then, her trash I noticed that it was trash day, because and I don't want to give too much game on the podcast, to be honest, but trash days, you can tell who's not and stuff that, somebody's home and their trash isn't taken out. It's kind of obvious, whatever. So it's like, just like I signed a lady up, and then like she was normally her neighbor moves the trash cans forward, but he hadn't done it yet. I was able to do it for her. Or I took out the lady's lease from the front to the back after signing them up, and it wasn't an objection or whatever it is. And so we actually took time, even though it takes up a lot of time in a morning meeting.
Yeah.
Every single day we had 2 or 3 people that were like, yeah, this lady had an Amazon box the size of my car, and I moved it into the garage for her. Or whatever the case is. And so you can't be a bad person doing stuff like that.
That's so
You know
cool.
what I mean?
That's so cool.
But then on the business end, it had to be connected to a sale for you to get up and talk about it.
Okay.
Because otherwise, you're going to have a bunch of people running around just being free marketers, nice things, which is good. Like, we obviously want to be good people, but like connected to a sale, so we're not wasting time.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I think that, like...
Did you guys come up with that on your own?
Yeah, we did a twist on that
fire.
this year.
That's insane.
We were tired of
I'm taking notes.
We were tired of the, like, 8 no soliciting signs, and I signed them up. It's like, get over yourself, whatever. And, like, I don't want to... And I also, at the end of the day, don't want to necessarily encourage that. So... so we did a twist on it this year, where we still did war stories, but that was the twist.
That's insane.
If you did something nice for the person, took out their whatever trash. Trash is the easy thing to think of, but if you did something for them and signed them up, like that was the war story this year.
That's good. That's good.
Typically those stories, you can't be a bad person doing those things.
Yeah.
You can't have a bad approach or selfish approach if you're looking to do something like that for somebody.
Right. Even if you don't end up doing anything, that's still in your mind, thinking like, man, how can I help this person out?
So there's some game for you.
That is game. That's insane. I will be taking some notes on that. Wow. That's awesome.
Sorry, man.
I've enjoyed the fuck out of this podcast.
I have, man, but I gotta ask in closing. Man, the person you were before EcoShield compared to the person you are now, compared to the person you hope to be, what are those on?
Wow. Well, the person I hope to be, I'm going to be constantly chasing, right, forever, and that's kind of part of the game, right? That's part of it. But I have made lots of mistakes, learned a ton of things, and I'm definitely proud of the things that I have learned, the mistakes that I've made, and I know that there's more lessons for me to learn, and there's more mistakes to be made, and more things to figure out. And so I think that through that process of learning those things, I've come to enjoy the process of growth, of change, right? Progress equals happiness. We talk about that a lot as a company. But progress isn't always fun, right? Challenges that cause growth aren't always enjoyable, but that maybe I missed your question, but that's what I think of when you say that.
Yeah, no, that's very real. I mean, I think you hit it on the head. Just the person that you hope to be is different than the person that you were before EcoShield. Right. Yeah.
And I'm a different person now, for sure.
Yeah.
And I think what's cool is I don't really make that opinion based off of myself. Sure, I'm in a different place within a lot of metrics, and I feel a different way. I live a different way, but that it comes from the feedback I get from my family, my peers, people that I grew up with, where it's not like you changed, you switched up, but just oh, like I can tell like you're doing really well. Like this is what you're doing is not only awesome for you and has allowed you all these opportunities, but it's helping you become a better person. You know, it's helping you have better character. And so I think that getting that feedback from people who knew me before this job is something that is also another kind of reward, right? Where you're like, wow, like, you know, I feel like I'm moving in the right direction. So, do you guys feel kind of a similar progress before the company and versus now?
Man, I mean, I don't, like, I always knew I'd figure it out. Just didn't know how. And that's Eco Shield's been my vehicle for sure. I didn't, I you know, that was me. It's like, not that I was like this great person growing up or anything, and now I'm like, you know, not or better. It's just for me, like, I 100% agree with you where, like, the guy that I want to be, I'm always going to be chasing that one. For me, there's always levels, but I've already kind of accepted a infinite mindset with that. Like, that's why I loved Infinite Game so much, because, like, a lot of the stuff that it just, like, for me, it was like light bulbs going off that whole time I was reading that book. And to be honest, it just gave me a ton of peace of, like, just peace with, like, you know, it's okay to not be where I want to be because I'm never going to get there anyways.
Right.
It's the process and enjoying the process. That's the whole point. And, like, that book has made me, I think, just a happier person overall, because I'm starting to, like, realize it's like my one regret with Eco Shield, and I'm going way deep with your question here, but my one regret with Eco Shield is not enjoying it more. So focused on hitting a goal or this number or that number that I was so serious when I should have just not relaxed more, not been more complacent or comfortable, but just enjoyed it more. And the Infinite Game has really given me a lot of peace of mind of, like, a lot of the stuff that I'm chasing after, I'm never going to get to. It's just the fact that I'm still trying day after day to get there. That is the success in it. As far as who I am now, it's like there's me. I feel good about where I am now. I feel like I'm on a good trajectory, and it's because of feedback I get from other people. Because for me, like, imposter syndrome is something that, like, I feel like I for sure dealt with. Like, and we live in this Eco Shield bubble where, oh, you did 2.8 million, but you might be sitting next to a guy that did 10 million with his team.
Right.
And so you don't feel very good sitting next to that guy. But dude, it's like you walk around on the streets. Like, I have a $3 million sales team. It's like people are like, you know, they'll be jaw dropped. Like, that's not normal, you know.
Right.
We live in this little Eco Shield bubble where everybody's crushing, and so, you know, as far as where I am now, it's like feel good about where I am now. Feel proud of myself. And for a while, I probably wouldn't have been proud of myself. It took me a while to kind of figure out how to be proud of myself, you know, because I always wanted more. But it's like, I don't know. That's a loaded question for me. Before Eco Shield, I was lost. I knew that I could work hard, and you know, I knew that I was smart and could figure it out, but didn't know how. You know, Eco Shield for me has been that Ferrari that they always talk about, the job being a Ferrari and stuff like that. Like, for me, it for sure has been a vehicle to get me to this point. And then mentally, as far as where I want to be, I just know that if I keep doing what I'm doing, I'll get there, you know. And then once I get there, there'll be other stuff that I want to, and I just got to be okay with that and enjoy the process.
That infinite game.
Mm-hmm.
And that ties into with the happiness advantage as well, where it's like, and I was reminded of that reading that book, where it's like you're saying, hey, you know, you're so focused, you're working hard, which is great, but, you know, if you enjoy the process, it's actually going to be better for you.
It's my biggest regret, bro. Like I said, I'll tell you that for yourself, like, 'cause I'm deeper in this than you are. Like, so focused on being a top 10, or being this, being that, or hitting this revenue markers with your team, just not enjoying it. Like, I should have made better relationships and should have enjoyed it more, but I was probably too focused, you know. So that's just more game for
locking that in.
Enjoy it for real. Like, and they talk about it in all these books, so it's not me making this up. It's just like looking back on it, I definitely feel like I could have enjoyed this a lot more, and I've enjoyed it a lot. But I was too serious, too stressed about little things that I have the control over anyways, because in this job we have the control, you know?
Yeah.
What about you, Dave? Where you were, where you are, and where you going?
What a question.
Oh man, I think for me, man, since being with the Shield, man, I think I have just taken a stance of just gratitude. I think that I'm just more grateful since being here than I was before coming to EcoShield. Granted, it's been almost a decade now since I've been with EcoShield. But I think that I've just learned more of a sense of just being grateful for this position and situation that I'm in, you know. Even if you take it outside of business and you just turn on the news, I think we are constantly, in happiness advantage, we are constantly just being fed negativity.
Mm-hmm.
There's always something wrong in the world, always something, you know, ill going on. And I think just being surrounded by the group of people that we're surrounded here, whether you're at this branch or that branch, like there's a sense of positivity around. There's a sense of a better outcome, a light at the end of the tunnel. Whatever your history background is, you can achieve what you haven't done before here. So since coming here, I've understood that like you have to be grateful for wherever you've come from in the position that you're in now, because from where you can go from here to there, or like from here to the future, like you can't really put a price on that. So like I'm just more grateful to the person that I have become now since this opportunity. I think I was more selfish back then, but I was also 18 compared to being 27 now. So
Old man, damn.
hey man,
How old are you?
I'm 26. I'm just
There you
messing with him.
come on man, you know don't crack, stop playing.
Yep.
That's
Love
too
it.
Good. That was fire, bro.
Thank you guys for having me.
Yeah, that was
Appreciate
great, man. Let's
That was awesome.
So dope.